this is the second part to the Gothic architecture video that I did, yeah? So, did Islamic architecture influence the European Gothic architecture that we see in Europe and in European universities and cathedrals, churches? And the answer is of course, right? Later, towards the end, I'll give you an earlier version of the Gothic architecture from the deep, dark continent, right? West Africa, Mali, yeah, where many of the Moors came from, that area, right? So before we get to the Mali bit, yeah, let's start with this. Yes, there was instances of Islamic architecture influencing Gothic architecture, particularly through the interactions that occurred during the medieval period in the Iberian Peninsula, right? So, the Gothic architecture, yeah, was introduced to Europe around the 12th to the up to the 16th century, right? From 12th century on. And that's when Islam took off, right? So the times are matching, right? The math is mathing. So present day, so that's the Iberian Peninsula is present day Spain and Portugal, right? This region, known as Al-Andalus, was ruled by the Islamic Moors from the 8th century to the 15th centuries. During this time, there was significant cultural exchange between the Islamic and Christian communities, leading to the sharing of ideas and architectural styles. One of the key influences of Islamic architecture on Gothic architecture was the introduction of new building techniques and decorative elements. Islamic architecture was known for its intricate geometric patterns, ornate stucco at work, the extensive use of mosaics and decorative tiles, which could be seen in structures such as the Great Mosque of Cordoba. These elements found their way into Gothic architecture through various channels such as trade, diplomacy, and cultural interactions. For example, the use of geometric patterns and decorative motifs in Gothic stained glass windows and stone carvings may have been inspired by Islamic art and architecture. Additionally, the pointed arc, a hallmark of Gothic architecture, yeah, the creme de la creme of Gothic architecture, may have been influenced by Islamic architecture, where pointed arches were commonly used in mosque constructions. The Moors also introduced innovations in mathematics and engineering that could have influenced Gothic architects in their quest to build taller and more light-filled structures. Yeah, it's all about the angles, it's all about the light. The corners light hits. While Islamic influence on Gothic architecture may not be as pronounced as other influences, such as Romanesque architecture, there is evidence to suggest that the cultural exchange between Christians and Islamic civilization during the medieval period did contribute to the evolution of Gothic architectural style. I mean, obviously, there's going to be variation in designs and inspiration, but ultimately, the Gothic idea, came from the dark continent, via the Moors into Andalusia and then into the rest of Europe, So the actual angles, where the light hits and the arches and the intricacy of the designs come from the Iberian Peninsula or the Andalusian Moors, from that golden age. But obviously when it's in Europe, when it's gotten to Europe, different architects and different designers will then give their own little flair and add their own intricacies and flares, right? And rightly so. So, yeah, it's nice to know where things come from. Yeah, there's always a beginning for something, right? The arts, expression, language, and a lot of these things that are so beautiful and great architecture in Europe and the arts, yeah, comes from the dark continent, right? Or the Americas, the old world, right? The Moors in Europe, yeah. But it's like Europe likes to play in the dark a lot. Yeah, and that's what happens when you lose faith, right? When you think you can fly without anybody else's help. Yeah, so let me just remind you again that Somali saying that I've used several times on here, right? Which goes like this. Yeah. Sometimes I think Europe and Asia, yeah, you put on shoes that are way too big for yourselves. Yeah, and it always ends up in a bloodshed, doesn't it? Anyways, bye.